Welcome back to the Boomerang Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Drew.
And today we have a very special guest, our good friend Vlad.
From A&N Network, American News Network. Vlad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you being on, sir. Real quick, I know you're new to our audience, and you've gracefully, you've had us on your show, and really thank you for that. But wanted to give you just a quick moment just to tell our audience who you are real quick, your story, and how long you've been doing this.
Yeah, my name is Vlad. I run American News Network, One Nation Under God on YouTube. I mean, this all started when the 2020 election was really strange. I was born in a former Soviet Union country, Kyrgyzstan, right next to Afghanistan, China. And so my relatives, they've all seen some weird things, right? They've seen how their election's going. On an election night, my older relatives were actually saying, we've seen this before, right? My aunts, uncles, everyone's like, they're going to do something. When they stopped counting, everyone just kind of laughed, right, from the shock, you could say. And so I never really paid much attention about politics. I always liked Trump, but I was never really into it. And then when all of this happened, I was going through like my emotional phases, and somebody that actually was raised in the Soviet Union, his father served 10 years in the Soviet Union prison for possession of a Bible. 12 years. Actually, he said to me, no one cares about politics until communism or fascism is knocking at the door. And that's a police state. And this was 2 years ago when he said this to me. We're literally there today. And so from there, I just made a TikTok account. It all started with TikTok, and then I blew up to like 250,000 followers in 28 days. Took that down. I started at YouTube. I flew down to Phoenix when they were doing the election on it. George had me on. Here we are 2 years later doing this. Go to Trump rallies, travel the country to a bunch of like political events. I tried to debate with liberals, but I had 2 good debates, and after that, no one else wants to come on.
Yeah, funny how that works.
But other than that, yeah, trying to fight for freedom.
So you probably see a lot of similarities between where you came from and what's going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, I came here, I was very young. I was 6 years old. I don't remember much, but I do remember the hunger. I remember going to sleep hungry. I remember our last Christmas there. I think we split one Snicker bar between 4 kids, and it was the craziest thing to us, right? And we were doing better than anyone on our street because my dad would leave to go and work in Germany 5 months out of a year. So that's how we survived. And so I do remember the hunger. I do remember being poor. I do, not having enough clothes, just all this stuff. I don't remember much about the politics, but I just remember life sucked. And so the similarities I see from doing my research and from what I see within the Democrat Party is tax the rich. You tax the rich, they don't want to work anymore. They shut down their businesses or they move them overseas. You see all this BS about gun control. You see all this about trying to control speech. Back then it was with the newspaper. Today it's online. And it's very similar. It's pretty much the same thing, except now we're more advanced in technology. But yeah, a lot of similarities.
So how do you see this country getting out of the situation that we're in now? I mean, you have, $33 trillion of debt. You have people like Sidney Powell getting, plea deals and having to testify against Trump. You're going to see more cases, obviously, against Donald Trump. Complete kangaroo courts. I mean, they're trying to take away his First Amendment speech rights. I mean, what do you see happening from here?
Until the people, I honestly believe until the people say it's enough, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, the people on the ground, they have to wake up, right? And they have to fight back about what's happening to them. And until that happens, it's pretty hard to change anything. So I appreciate you doing your podcast, just helping to slowly wake people up, sharing the news, current events and updates. You're doing awesome work, man, and we're really striving to keep up and catch up with where you're at, and do the same thing in our own way, just letting people know what's actually going on. It's kind of like beyond the headlines, you know what I mean? Like the news within the news that a lot of people don't get to see. Which brings us up to just kind of current events, right? We got Mike Johnson from Louisiana. We now have a Speaker of the House, unanimously won. Any quick thoughts on that? I know he's a big Trump supporter. He's against going for Biden and corruption. He's for lowering our debt and then trying to make that at least somewhat more manageable. Do you have any insight on or any feelings on him winning the Speaker?
Well, I didn't really know much about him until he became Speaker, and he's the Speaker we needed that we didn't know we needed.
Right.
We thought Jim Jordan, we thought all these other guys, but he's younger. And for me, as someone who's a Christian, and I'm not your average Sunday, just Christian, I believe if you practice something, practice it all the way or don't. Right. And for me personally, a lot of people say they're Christians in Congress, but this guy, when he went up to take the gavel, he brought his personal Bible up there. Before they actually voted, he knew he had the votes. He grabbed his group of people, they went and they prayed. So he's practicing, he's not ashamed of the culture we're in. And so, again, if you're not a Christian, I don't judge you. But if you are, and you say you represent my God, but it's just here, I'm going to call you out. And this dude's genuine. He's an election denier, which I love. I mean, Hillary Clinton, she taught us how to be election deniers.
Right. She wrote the playbook.
So we learned from the best. So he fought with Trump for against both impeachments. Even right now, through this everything, he's always had Trump's back. And so, yeah, I really like him. I think he's going to do great. He's somebody yesterday spent a few hours watching a lot of his hearings. He's good. I mean, he's willing to say what most people don't want to say. He calls out the radical left. He calls out their policies, their destructive policies, their open border policies. He wants to get rid of Biden. He wants Biden impeached and Kamala.
Correct.
I like him.
It's pretty. I like him too. And like you said, how to Google and who is this guy? Because you just, he's not in front of the camera. He's not trying to do all this for publicity. I like what you said about kind of practice what you preach, right? It's not just, hey, I'm a Christian, lip service. Like I actually go and pray, right? It's a lot of these guys say they're Christians and, then they're voting to, take prayer out of school and things like that. So he seems genuine in that sense. One thing, before we started this, you were kind of telling us a little story that you heard about how he became Speaker and kind of what Kevin McCarthy was doing behind the scenes and just kind of the, behind closed doors conversations going on. And I like that. So I was hoping maybe you could kind of give that to our audience.
Yeah. So what happened was, for 3 weeks, they couldn't choose a speaker. Kevin McCarthy has been making the media rounds saying, oh, I support Jim Jordan, then I support the next guy, then I support that guy. And McCarthy and a few of his goons were going around and saying, this is Matt Gaetz' fault that we can't get a speaker. He's causing chaos in the House. Well, yesterday in the morning, they had another closed door meeting. And a freshman Republican congressman out of New York stands up and says, once the guy, I keep forgetting his name, the one he voted to impeach Trump.
Comer?
Yep. So they voted on him twice, and that was out the window. But the one after him was, Mike Johnson. And so the freshman stands up and says, look, let's do a roll call. So because they were supposed to take a 3-day break because they didn't get a speaker. Says, before we all go home and start crying and being sad, let's do a roll call. Maybe Mike Johnson does have the votes right now because this guy is out. And the only person to stand up and be against it was Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy stands up and says, no roll call. We're going home. And so everyone's shocked. Kevin McCarthy's saying he's ready to support anyone for a speaker position. Then the freshman, I don't know the rules of the House too much. Pulls out another rule to where they do a write-in a write-in election, pretty much, for the speaker. It's where you write whoever you want to be speaker on a piece of paper, but nobody knows
It's anonymous, right?
So, but before that, they had a 3-hour break. During the break, Kevin McCarthy comes up to Matt Gaetz and says, I have 100 votes. I got 100 votes right now, so might as well put me back in. He says, no, you don't. And he sees that he just walked out of a room with a bunch of people. They do the write-in vote. Kevin McCarthy does not get 100 votes. He gets 43 votes. And then the freshman stands up again and says, roll call. Pulls out some other rule and says, roll call. If you voted for McCarthy and when your name is called, you have to stand up. He went from saying, I got 100 votes to getting only 43 on the write-in to when it was time for them to stand up and say, yeah, I want McCarthy to be speaker again. Not a single person stood up. That's when Kevin McCarthy's big plan that he was doing behind the scenes, trying to make himself speaker again, collapsed. He was embarrassed. It showed who he really is. And then from there, within 2 hours, Mike Johnson was the speaker. So it wasn't Matt Gaetz who was causing chaos. It wasn't Matt Gaetz who was causing division. It wasn't Matt Gaetz who was disrupting the House of Representatives. It was Kevin McCarthy. It
was always Kevin McCarthy. Always.
It was always Kevin McCarthy.
Trying to cut deals with the Democrats, with different parties, not for the benefit of the American people who didn't want him, who actually wanted Jim Jordan, but just for his own benefit. And I'm glad it worked out this way. And like you mentioned,
That's
you know,
right.
we got the speaker we deserve, I think, and a damn good one at that.
Oh, yeah. And then he got his first vote. One vote, he was in. And so this could have happened 3 weeks ago if it wasn't for Kevin McCarthy. But he tried to make himself speaker again secretly, again, you know, this time around.
Yeah, I think Drew would tell you that I'm probably more of the cynic between us. I really don't follow the speakership. I mean, to some extent I do, you know, but I just look at Congress and I see how useless these people are. I mean, these are the people that got us in, what, $33 trillion of debt. They brought us through 2 wars, total incompetence for decades. I almost feel silly even debating about these guys. But looking ahead to 2024, I mean, what do you see happening? I mean, do you even see an election in 2024 happening? I personally don't. I don't see it. I think Trump is going to win in such a landslide that they're going to be forced to, you know, maybe they postpone the vote, right? They postpone the election. What are your thoughts?
There's 2 ways to look at everything. There's the ways of when I follow things, right? When I follow politics and how they're going. And then there's, you know, again, I'm a Christian. There's the unseen realm where, you know, where God gets involved, and no matter what people try to do, there's a scripture that I love. It says that men make plans, but God mocks them. So they plan to either rig an election or not rig an election. He laughs and he says, but that's not my plan. And so I when I look at things, yes, they're trying to pull a World War III. They're trying to get involved in Israel. They're trying to get involved with Russia. But I think they understand that, like, if you look at all these polls, if you look at how people are feeling, they understand much bigger than Russia and much bigger than Iran and much bigger than Hamas is the American people. Because Russia's over there, Hamas is over there, but the American people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired of being lied to, of being played, of seeing the open border. And the number one thing that I've been seeing right now, even from the Democrats, while they've been calling like Trump MAGA conservatives like extremists and terrorists for the last 2 years, they completely ignored what was happening in the Middle East. 2 days ago, the DOJ and FBI sends a warning through the United States that there are Hamas and you know, extreme Muslim terrorists.
Shocking they would just come through the border like that.
States.
Just shocking they wouldn't register, you know, let people know they're coming in. Wow. How rude.
So people are like, well, you told us the MAGA Republicans are bad, but now Hamas, you're telling us, is in every city. And what do they say? Kind of like, be on alarm. They can pull something off any day. This is what they reported 2 days ago. And people are waking up and saying, but you told us it's the MAGA Republicans that are super dangerous,
Right.
but you ignored this.
Yeah.
And so
FBI put all their attention on, Christians, Catholics, and MAGA, voters.
Parents
and,
at school boards.
Yeah, parents at school boards, right? And said, let's not focus on the border. Now all of a sudden, hey, we got, terrorist cells here that, could be activated at any time. Stay on high alert.
yeah,
Joke.
yeah.
What a
But I
joke.
think there will be an election, and I think Trump will win. And I think they're going to try to do a lot of things. I think they're going to try to play with, with a mess with a bunch of things. But I believe Trump is going to, like, without a shadow of a doubt, I believe there will be. And again, there's other things, if this was more like a Christian type of podcast, just for anyone, just look at Jehu, the life of King Jehu, who he was, how he became king, and then look at Trump. And we understand history repeats itself. And it was a dude who was not supposed to be king. He was this crazy guy. But in order for him to become king, he had to take down Jezebel. Jezebel is the wife of the former king. Nobody thought he's going to be able to do it. And at the last minute, he does. But then, after 4 years, they try to take him down as king. He has his people from all over Israel go to Jerusalem to protest. They go. They surround the Capitol building. They break in. 80 people are, taken out by the guards that day. Trump, after 4 years, they're kicking him out. His protesters go to the Capitol. And they surround the building. 80 people are arrested that day. If you look at the biblical calendar and today's calendar, both of them are January 6th.
Wow.
And they just keep, there's like so much like that. And that just comes, even the dates fallen. And Jehu, his last year of reign was the 28th reign. If Trump wins, his last year of reign is the 28th year. There's way more than that, but that's just like one very small thing that comes into it. But even besides all that, people have had enough. They understand, and I think they're gonna do what they had to do in 2016. Just come to kind of like, okay, he won. It's better for us to just wait for these 4 years. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to see that they can't just put him in prison and everything's going to be okay. They're going to see that they can't just go after his supporters and take him off the ballot and everything's going to be fine. So I think they're getting already to a place to like, okay, let him serve. Because let's be honest, the Republican Party is so stupid.
Yeah.
They don't have a plan after Trump. But the Democrats see this and they're saying, okay, he'll serve 4 more years, but then who else? Look at all of his so-called friends, DeSantis and everyone else who backstabbed them. We just got to put up with Trump for 4 more years, and that's it. And then we take over. And this is where our role comes in as, who knows, maybe you might have to run for Congress, or me, or other things to see. No one can, but who will do these things if not us?
Yeah, if you had to just throw, a wild horse, pick out there, somebody to follow up Trump, who would you lean toward?
Gates or Kerry.
Interesting. I like Gates a lot. I just wonder if he's too divisive for people, and there's just too much, vitriol and hate. I guess no different than Trump, but he doesn't quite carry the clout that Trump has and being able to overcome that. But that would be very interesting. I always think about one of his, Don Jr. I'm just curious if one of his kids might try to, carry the torch, if he would even be respected as much as his dad. But just because he gets pretty political and, he's on Truth and, YouTube and Instagram.
I wanted to ask you, we were kind of talking a little bit about it before the show, but in Georgia with Sidney Powell and all these people pleading to lesser charges, what's going on there? What do you think?
Well, like I've said before, it makes zero sense.
Right.
None of these, I had it here. So Sidney Powell, she was part of Trump's RICO case with a conspiracy conspiracy to overturn an election and destroy democracy, like they say, right? But a quick comment on that. We're living in a democracy right now, right? America is not supposed to be a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Correct.
Open borders, horrible economy, stupid president, World War III, and that's democracy. So we need to go back to a constitutional republic. But they keep saying that they try to overturn democracy. They try to go against the will of the people. And there's RICO, there's conspiracy. There's just the RICO and conspiracy we're carrying anywhere between 15 and 45 years. And she gets probation and a fine. Same with everybody else. And it's all being led down to misdemeanors. It makes zero sense. The only thing I can think of is either they're all going to lie against Trump, or their case out of Georgia against them was so weak, because don't forget, Sidney Powell is the one who wanted a speedy trial. So she was supposed to be in trial right now. Then right before it starts, they give her this deal. She pleads it down to misdemeanors, $6,000 fine, 6 years probation. You were looking at 40 years. You tried to destroy America, and you get a $6,000 fine.
Which doesn't that just leads you to believe they didn't have enough evidence, right? I mean, I just wonder if people were like, hey, you know what, I'll plead down, because even though they don't have the evidence to, in the long run, convict me of this, it might drag out for a few years, might, bankrupt me and my family, and then you're just tarnishing my good name, running it through the mud, having these mainstream media news sources, lawfare, tear me down every chance that they get, right? To the point where if you got family and, kids and grandkids, they're in the crosshairs of these sickos and psychos out there. So I just wonder if some of them are like, long run, they don't have the evidence against Trump, but I'll plead down to this, and say, hey, I was in the wrong, because ultimately they're going after Trump. And, I'm just curious, if you could charge someone for 40 years and you had the evidence, how could you ever plead them down to $6,000 misdemeanor and, a fine?
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
Something that excites me actually was Trump truthed out. I think it was like last week, maybe. He truthed out that he's got 100% indisputable evidence that there was election fraud. So what are they doing right now, Vlad? Is he baiting them into a court case where now he can present his evidence and prove to the entire country and the world that there was election fraud? Is that what's going on?
It could be. I mean, we know that Trump, when he got indicted, he was supposed to hold this big press conference, and then, or he was going to present all the evidence. And then apparently his attorneys told him not to. And my question is, why would his attorneys tell him not to? Right? And so if that was the case, and then you present it to the whole country, you just destroy Fannie Willis and her case out there publicly. And then, and then they know what you're going into trial with. So they might dismiss it, might not. I don't know. But
unless he's just playing chess and he's just trying to get them, if he doesn't share all the evidence, then he can let them go into court and make themselves look like fools, right? And then drop the evidence at the end or join the court case. I'm not sure that that's what's happening, but maybe he's trying to bait them into really looking bad to the fact where mainstream media can't hide it. The American public are like, wow, this is criminal that you guys would even bring these charges. And it was stolen.
Yeah, no, there could be a lot of things at play here, but these judges are so corrupt. Yesterday, what was his name? The convicted liar, Cohen, I think.
Yep.
He lied.
Schroyer, yeah.
He stood there under oath and he lied to the judge. And then he admitted under oath that Trump never pressured him to mess around with the value of Mar-a-Lago and everything else. And then there was a press conference where Michael Cohen came out and said, yes, I lied to the judge. But the case is still going on. And if you look at the case in New York, the civil case, they're saying that Trump, in order to get a much bigger loan, he exaggerated the value of Mar-a-Lago. But these loans were a long time ago. Every loan has been paid off. Not a single late payment's paid off with interest. So who's the victim? Why are they doing this? a lot of money. Trump has to pay his attorneys, traveling, because, private jet, that's not going to be maintained. His rooms, the cars, everything. And they know what they're doing. They're coming after his money.
Plus, they just had to put some kind of indictment, some charge out there because probably, I can't remember at the time which one it was, but probably Joe Biden's, dipshit son probably did something stupid at the time they needed a new news event.
Yeah. No, we are living in, very communist democracy right now. Exactly what the Democrats wanted. But the people really do need to be sick and tired and understand. People need to read the Constitution. Like, I talked to a lot of people. No one's ever even read the Constitution once. The first 2 pages talk about a government like this and what we the people are supposed to. This is you the people are the government, and if your so-called government that you control becomes tyrannical, there needs to be a reset.
Right. That is there to protect the people against the government. That's the
Yes.
reason that we have that. People always seem to forget.
I'm personally at that point where I don't look at any of these people legitimately. I don't see them as there's no legitimacy to any of these Congress people.
NPCs.
They're MPs, non-playable characters. These people are a joke. I don't recognize them as my government. Honestly, I want nothing to do with them. What are your thoughts, Vlad, in terms of what was I going to ask about? Oh, yeah. Jacqueline Breger, right? She was that lady who came forward earlier in the year, and she went to some town meeting here in Arizona, and she said that she had all the evidence that Katie Hobbs was taking bribes from the cartels. Then we saw Bob Menendez, as we call Gold Bar Bob.
Gold Bar Bob.
We saw Gold Bar Bob taking bribes from
Egypt,
the country of Egypt. Now we saw on, I think it was the Gateway Pundit, where we saw the guy from Arizona. What was his name? Could look it up. But now we have a guy that was actually accused by a reporter for taking bribes from also the cartels. So do you think we're going to see more and more of these politicians exposed in terms of taking bribes from whether it be the cartels or whoever?
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I think there's 2 things that's happening. I think more people are going to be exposed. Right. But another thing that, on one hand, I agree with you. Like, these people do not represent my values. They don't represent who I am. But there's something very interesting happening amongst the Republican Party. As dirty as it might seem, and even what happened with the speaker, and how much there's division among Republicans shows me that there are the rhinos who are really Democrats who ran as Republicans, and then there are true conservatives, true Republicans, right? I remember when Matt Gaetz was kicking Kevin McCarthy out of the speakership, and then one of McCarthy's friends stands there. Look, I got a notification. Donate to Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz stands up and says, I'll gladly take the $20, $30, and I won't take a lesson. I won't take a lesson from the people that are paid by special interests.
Right. I'll take that grassroots money from my own constituents and people who are actually voting as opposed to the corporations.
There you go. And so there's like a breaking happening amongst the Republicans. The fake ones are gonna, fall off. But the really strong ones, I believe, if they can endure, go through the fire, this is where a big reset can happen. The party that can unite, that isn't backed by all this money everywhere by special interests, and revive the country, politically set everything back in order. And I think that's what's happening, and we'll see how it goes. But there's always a negative and a positive to this. And yeah, it might look messy, but hey, if you look at now the speaker, I think compared to Kevin McCarthy, we got a great speaker. We'll see how he does. We'll see, only time can tell. But when Kevin McCarthy became speaker, half the country was against him. But with this guy, a lot of people who have looked into him are very happy.
Yeah, I think he'll make a great speaker. I'm excited for him. And, I want to get to a point where, as a country, we're not getting looked at like a corporation and like a product and being used and sold and abused like there's 330 plus million people here that we know of. Probably a few 10, 20 million illegals. But, you know, we got to get back to like who we are as a culture of a people, you know, who we are as a nation, as a republic, and, you know, just not the whole corporation where, you know, we're a product to be sold to other countries or special interests and things like that. So I want the people to take back over this country, and, you know, starting with the Republican Party, just everything that you just mentioned, we need to unite. We need to get the rhinos out of there. I love the idea of, I want to see who votes for what and have open ballot like this behind closed door. You know, I can't stand that, because then you see the disparity between the votes, you know, when you do it in public and then you do it between closed doors. Why is there such a gap? Who changes their mind? Right. And I want these people on record where they vote. And so we can primary them out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be, I mean, you will look at Niger, you know, the Niger country in Africa. They've been colonized by France for the last couple hundred years. They've had enough. Their president, who was the president 3 months ago, is sitting in a prison cell. They went into the Oval Office, the military. A young, like 35-year-old general is the president right now. So the military is cleaning house. He's been meeting with the president of China, with Putin. They're trying to get into BRICS, right? They kicked out. France was threatening to come in, and then the Nigerian military was threatening to come in because, you know, they're ran by France, and, you know, kind of like restore order. And all the people rose up with the military and said, come on in.
Yeah, maybe.
And, you know, they called out their bluff. Then I think they reset, like, oh, this Sunday we're coming in. And then Sunday comes along, they're like, oh, we had some things to do. And then that happened 3 times. And every time the people with the military said, no, come on. And then, so now they completely kicked out all their embassies. And, you know, while we're over here, you know, having all this mess with our open borders, and China and Russia are building schools for them. They're building roads for them. They're, you know, uniting with these countries, helping them, making friendships while we're making enemies.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a little bit of predatory lending there as well. You know, I'm sure China and Russia will own the main airport here in a few years, but they are
Probably
getting some support.
No, for sure. But imagine when you're a country that has like no schools.
Yeah,
no
yeah,
hospitals.
100%. Anything helps.
We'll build all this, but we want the airport, and let's work it, not, you know, have a great economy. Imagine all the people coming through. That, you know, for us, what do we give them? We'll give you $1 million, and you got to do trans right lessons.
Right. True.
In Pakistan, we did that in Pakistan. Last year, we sent them over $30 million for gay and trans lessons. A woman is not allowed to go outside without a burqa.
Yeah,
yeah, where's that money going?
These are the
It ain't
people
going
in
into
Congress. These are the people in
curriculum.
Congress approving these bills for these budgets. These people need to go, all of them. And maybe we
All
should
of
have the
them.
military go and rip some of these people out of their offices physically by force. Because that's what it might
Yeah.
have to come down to.
Yeah, I mean, might, but that's why they're making the military. Again, us Republicans, well, not us, but the Republican Party is so weak. The Democrats, they understood, right? They're like, last line of defense is the military. So we took over the schools, we took over the judges, the most major cities, the states. But the military, they swear an allegiance to the Constitution and to the president. Let's make it woke.
Yeah.
Look at our military. Nobody wants to sign up. No one wants to go in. A lot of true patriots left. Like they resigned or they didn't recontract because they don't want to be part of this, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Kicking
Woke
out all
and
those
out
people
the
who
military.
didn't get the vaccine, didn't get the jab.
Yeah.
Like the true patriots, like, no, this isn't right. And they're like, oh, you're out of the military, and just weaken it even more. Wild.
Have you seen ad for the Chinese military,
No.
Russian military?
I've seen
our
I've seen
military?
them. They're like highlight reels. And then they compare it to the US military, and it's a bunch of like
Drag
you know,
shows. And
yeah, like drag queens.
Exactly.
And it's yeah.
So there's this Chinese one. It's like these warships, and they're going, and then like they're being attacked, and these men, they're like putting their kids and women behind them, and they just like, save their country, save their family, destroy their enemies. They're all proud men, Then Russia's one where it's like this random guy standing in the store, and then it just switches to where he's working out, or like a taxi driver where he's protecting his family. And they're like, you can be average or you can protect your country. Are you a man or are you average?
All right.
Ours was a cartoon of these two lesbian couples that adopted a daughter, and one of them was like, "This is what I fight for," while they're like skipping through a park.
Yeah. Anything you want to add?
It is so bad.
It's a joke.
No, that's just what a clown show. What a clown world.
And they look at us and they're like, "Let's invade it."
What happened?
Pretty wild. Well, Vlad, is there anything else on your mind that you want to touch on?
No, that was it for today. But I just wanted to present the speaker. I think we got a great speaker. I think they're gonna try dirty things, dirty tricks. But I truly think we got 2024 in the bag. But after, I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I'm not as worried about 2024 as I am about 2028.
Sure. Vlad, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, American News Network on YouTube. Just put in ANN, American News Network. You'll find me. I make daily updates. I follow all the audits. I follow all the Trump court cases. We make memes every now and then. Yeah, we try to. And we're going to be starting within the next month street interviews, getting all set up for that. I live in a really big college town. We got like 6 huge universities within 30 miles. So I'm going to start hitting up these college kids, see what they think.
Get on the ground. Yeah, get on the ground level.
How are they feeling after these last 3 years?
To be careful, make sure you have like a bodyguard, because some of these kids in colleges are dumb as a rock, And
maybe it's hard to tell. I'm 6'4". I'm
okay, good.
Not a small guy.
Good, right on.
But
right.
of course, my camera guy and a couple other guys.
The lesbians for Palestine are on these campuses, so you got to watch out.
But think about it.
I'd pay for the flight just for them to go over there and hey, spend a day.
Yeah, spend a day.
Yeah. If you can make it out, I'll pay for your ticket back.
Do you think they're ignorant or brainwashed?
Both. Ignorant just means you don't know, right? It's just you're not stupid. You just don't know any better. And brainwashed, essentially, it's one and the same in that context to me. They're clueless.
Well,
outside of their bubble in the 30-mile radius where they live, they just don't understand how the world is. It's an oxymoron. Lesbians for Palestine. It's like a stand-up skit.
It's clown world, man.
Even that Muslim town in Michigan, even if they
Dearborn, yeah,
they'd go missing.
Yeah,
these people are nuts.
It's I don't know what it's going to take to wake them up, other than just a war. Getting drafted. Because they live probably a pretty privileged life, right? For them to be able to say that means that they don't really pay attention to, how the world works and, history and who these people are that they're supporting. It just seems like, it's a cool thing to do. And anytime you can throw one of the, 15 letters of LGBTQ plus -4 in there, they're going to support it, right? So I think it's brainwashed in that sense that, you get some clown at the top says, hey, let's do this gays for for Palestine. And
I stay away from these people.
Yeah.
I don't interact with them. I want nothing to do with them. I'm not interested in their ideas. There is no debating these people at this point. There's no more debate.
But I'll watch your show if you go to the college campuses. I'll watch that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
For the laughs.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a silent majority. Maybe there's a big silent majority.
Yeah, maybe there's more Trump support than we think.
I'd love to see that.
There is. I travel a lot. I've encountered Trump supporters in the least expected places. Portland, Seattle. I'm telling you, a lot. There's a lot of people are just off the top of my head, personally, that I know people personally in my life. Some of them voted for Hillary. They voted for Biden. So I know 4 right off the top of my head right now who have already said, I regret it. I'm voting for Trump next time.
Right.
And these are just the people I know.
Right. I believe that.
And it's
Well, I hope more people start to wake up because it's getting pretty bad.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I think they will.
well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time, Vlad. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we can get you down here in studio.
Maybe
we could fly you out when you have some time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
God
Have a
bless.
great day.
Thank you, Vlad. Look forward to doing this again, sir.
Yep.
Adios.
Cheers. Sweet. Cool. Good combo.